Howdy folks, I'm Justin. I'm going to theorize about how solar systems work, how light is able to travel, how I believe that we are immensely and immediately connected to things way far away from us. I'd like to start at the bottom, okay? And what I mean by at the bottom is as small as you can think of, okay? So as small as you can think of. And we know that there are very small things out there that we cannot see with a microscope. So let's go smaller than that even. We know it's there, we know it exists, we know it's operational, it performs functions. Smaller than we can even see, we know it's performing functions. Okay, so let's just say there is a size. Now, this is a theory. Let's just say there is a size that nothing can get smaller than. Okay? Even the air around us that is invisible to us. Let's say there is a point that the air can get no smaller. Okay? It stops, it can't get any smaller. That's it. Period. That's the finish line right there of the most small thing you could imagine, beyond your imagination. Okay, so let's call it a distance. Okay? If it can't get any smaller than this amount, now in scientific terms, it's going to be one of those numbers that has the exponent or whatever you call it to 85,000 zeros or whatever smaller than right now here. Okay, so let's just keep it simple. The smallest thing out there. Let's say there is a bottom. Now this is a theory. So there's a bottom. Okay, nothing can get smaller than this. And let's just call it dark matter is, I think, what the term is that they're using, the dark matter or dark energy, one or the other. Okay, so if nothing can get smaller than it, first of all, we need to see this for what it is. We live in a three-dimensional world, and we need to see this distance three-dimensionally. How do you see a distance three-dimensionally? It's a circle. It's a sphere. There's no way around it. It's a sphere. There's a point in which, okay, you got the smallest item in the world. I wish I had some marbles here. You got the smallest item in the world, in the universe. Okay? Nothing in the universe can get smaller than this. Nothing. It's the building block. Okay? From what everything amounts to. And really, it's very simple when you start with your very first building block. Okay? Now, we know that if nothing can, we know, and this is theory of mine, if nothing can get smaller than this distance, this specific distance, then no two items ever really connect. Okay? There may be a magnetism, there may be an attraction, but if space itself has a bottom, if it has a bottom, it means there's nothing that it can't be broken. It will not get any smaller than a certain amount. Okay? That means that no two items actually ever touch, because there's got to be a space in between them. Okay? And if you look at it, you can't even say, let me flip this over. You can't, can you see that little circle? Maybe I should use a darker color. If you look at a circle like it's a sphere, okay? Let's say that is a, oh, I didn't even draw it. That is a solid. Okay, that's a solid. Not a very good circle, but that's a solid. Now, if we're at the very bottom, the very smallest of small, with the building blocks of the universe, and we say that space itself can't get any smaller than this, then that means that if this, let's just say this is a piece of sand, okay? That's for sand. Another piece of sand cannot touch the first piece of sand because the space in between cannot get any smaller. It can't get any smaller. So these two particles cannot physically touch. When we get into different quantum fields, I guess, is what we're starting to look at, and I'm not sure, to be honest with you, the definition of what a quantum field is. All I can say is that there is an attraction, a magnetic force, a repulsive force. We see it, it's out in the world. We see it with our friends and people we know. We are attracted to some people, we are repulsed by others. It's out there. It's happening all the time. Okay, so, very important. If there is a bottom, the small as small can get, no two items can ever touch. Because the space in between them wouldn't allow it. And if they did touch, that's breaking the laws of physics. Because that, well, theoretically, the space in between them, that little line that I drew right there in between them, can't get any smaller than that. Space itself cannot get any smaller than that. Okay? So, there's no way that these two things can touch because space can't get any smaller. Alright. Now, this is a very difficult concept to understand. And if you, I'm trying to convince you that it's possible, but it makes sense if we expand on this theory. I mean, literally, it can explain how stars work, how solar systems work. It can explain the definition of how and why the planets are so far away from each other, but they seem to be in a standard position. Okay? This theory can explain all that. It can give meaning to that. So, for now, my first lesson, start imagining that there is a bottom that nothing can get smaller than. Nothing can get smaller than. Start with one piece. And remember, they can't touch. Those pieces cannot touch. Because that means if it's a three-dimensional object, if it's a marble, okay? If they touch, let me draw another picture here. Okay? Here, if they touch, now this is going to be pretty, for me it's pretty easy to understand, but if you think about it, I'm going to draw a line here. Okay, so I drew a line right up there and right up there. If That's the smallest building block. That's the smallest that air or whatever it is out there can get. Then what about from that line down to where the pieces meet? That's smaller. So no, they cannot touch. If this line represents the distance of the smallest thing out there, nothing can be smaller than it, correct? So we cannot have two spheres touching each other, because where they touch is smaller than the smallest distance. You see what I mean? They have to be separated. They have to be separated. If there is a smallest distance out there, if there is a bottom that nothing gets smaller than, nothing can touch each other. Nothing actually touches each other. Physically, magnetically, gravitationally, they are attracted to each other. They are repelled from each other. At some point down the road, I'd like to get into talking about what the prime elements are. You have attraction, you have repulsion, you have, I'm not going to get there today. I want to just talk about the theory of the smallest distance available. It's a theory that if there is a bottom, a point in which nothing can get smaller, okay? Even space itself can't get smaller than it, okay? Space, air, it cannot get smaller than this. Then no two items can touch, ever. They can just be attracted to each other or repelled by each other. And if you start expanding, if you start building circles, this is going to be hard to see. Put a lot of circles together. Now all that space is in between. Let's imagine that that space is the smallest space around. It's the smallest space. Okay? If you start packing material items in, they're going to grow out in a spherical manner, which is very hard to build. Obviously, in order to build one with marbles, you need to suspend the marbles. You wouldn't be able to have like sticks holding them together. I guess you could, but whew, boy, that would take forever to build that thing. But considering the theory that there is a bottom to distance can explain how our Earth exists. It can explain why we are the distance we are from our sun, why our sun is the distance it is from the center of our galaxy. It can explain all that just by saying that there is a bottom. Okay? There is a bottom. So that's my first video here, and I hope to be doing more. So I will be back with more later. I don't know how soon. Maybe 10 minutes, maybe 10 years, who knows. But I say there is a bottom because it makes sense. I've done the figuring and it makes sense. It can explain so much. Alright. Until next time.